Welcome to Calling All Brides podcast. I'm your host, Joe Cirillo, with over 20 years experience in the wedding industry, from an owner of a wedding event rental company to a DJ and to a wedding videographer.
And I'm your host, DJ Michael Joye. I have, check this out, 30 years of being a DJ. Trust me, there's nothing I haven't seen or heard at a wedding.
Well, welcome into the Calling All Brides podcast. I'm your host, Joe Cirillo, and I hope you are doing well today. Well, we are getting towards the end of 2023, and it has been a fantastic year for the Calling All Brides podcast. We can't thank you enough for your continued support each week, listening in and on your favorite podcast app and YouTube. We've definitely seen a lot of growth in the podcast, so we can definitely tell that you appreciate the content that we are creating to help you save money and educate you in the wedding realm. So we thought that it would be good to just kind of recap, the episodes of 2023 and talk a little bit about what to expect in 2024. So I will tell you, we have a lot planned for you in 2024. We've got a lot of interviews coming with other wedding professionals to help continue to educate you, throughout the wedding planning process, and to help you save lots of money, and make some good decisions in your wedding planning as well. So that's what we've got planned for you in 2024. This will be the last episode of the Calling All Brides podcast in 2023 as we take a little bit of time off for the holidays. But don't worry, we will be back in January of 2024 with all brand new episodes. But in the meantime, let's talk a little bit about what we have been doing at the Calling All Brides podcast in 2023. And let's talk about some of the other episodes. So, we've got over 25 episodes. I think we're at 26, 27 episodes now. When we started earlier this year, and doing it each Tuesday when we release a brand new episode. But yeah, let's talk about some of the episodes. In case you haven't listened to all 25, 26 episodes, we'll kind of run through some highlights, of those episodes. So let's start with, really the first one back in June is actually when the podcast kicked off. So a lot of growth. We know that we've got a lot of listeners out there, from all over the United States, and actually looking at some of the information, we've got some listeners in other countries. So I think it's really cool, and we really, appreciate that. Not only are you hearing us here in the United States, but it's really cool to see how many countries, in 2024 that we can, spread our information of weddings. And we're really excited to see how many countries we can reach next year. So the first episode was alcohol at your wedding. Protect yourself and your guests. So during that podcast, we talked about, should you have alcohol? Should you not have alcohol? If you do have alcohol, what are the effects, and how can that, is it beneficial? Can it hurt you? What are all the different effects from alcohol at your wedding? That really kicked off because, there was an unfortunate situation. I thought it's been about a year or so, I believe now at this point, but in Folly Beach, South Carolina, and we're in our home market of Columbia, South Carolina, so not far down the road from us, but Folly Beach, right in the Charleston, South Carolina area, a bride and groom were hit from behind after they got married and were riding on a golf cart, and they got hit from behind from a drunk driver. So it really, just kind of got us talking about, alcohol at your wedding and that kind of thing. Although the person that ran into the back of the bride and groom was not part of the wedding party, they had been drinking. And so it just really, we want to talk about, the effects of alcohol and what that might look like for your wedding. So we chatted a lot about, the risk of alcohol. So if you are having alcohol at your wedding, what to expect, what liability you possibly could have, as somebody who's providing alcohol to other people, whether that's, your guests having too much to drink or, serving somebody underage, all the different things that can happen, if you do have alcohol at your wedding. Another thing that we talked about in that podcast was, some ways that if you are going to have alcohol at your wedding, some ways to make sure that people are safe, whether that's, possibly giving tickets to kind of reduce the number of drinks per person. We talked about, making sure that you make announcements that if somebody, is intoxicated or buzzed, that, an Uber or something like that could be called for them, take their keys away, find them another way home. We also talked about other options like, having a bus or some other service to provide for your guests, if they're going to be drinking, things like that. So that was a really good episode, so check that one out. Yeah, so in the second episode, we talked about exploring wedding traditions, something old, something new, so definitely check that one out. A lot of different traditions out there, some that you see a lot of brides and grooms still use today, and some that you don't, So there's some pretty interesting traditions in that episode as well. So yeah, definitely one you want to check out. Then we talked in our next episode is I Got the Ring, What Now? And we really broke down in that podcast, what do you do to even start your wedding planning journey? You get the ring, it's engagement season right now, so you get the ring on your finger and you're like, man, what do I do now? Where do I start? So we talk about where to start. We talk about setting a budget. We talk about, reaching out to wedding vendors and kind of what all that looks like. We talk about invitations, when you should send those out and save the dates and just the whole entire process, of your wedding and your wedding planning. We talk about there, and I Got the Ring, What Now? So definitely an episode you want to check out for sure. Then we talked on our next episode about the perfect length for your wedding. This one's a pretty big one because we see it a lot where, somebody sends in a quote and they're like, hey, I want to have a 8-hour, wedding reception or something like that. And you're like, wow, have you really thought about, everything that goes into your wedding, from the time your guests are getting ready at home and maybe they have kids they got to find a babysitter for, and then they come to the wedding and the ceremony and then the reception, and then they got to pick their kids back up and all that kind of good stuff. And then, depending on the day of the week, if it's like a Sunday or something, people have to get ready and go back to work. So, we talk about what is the perfect length for your wedding. So definitely an episode that you want to check out for sure. All right, next we talked about the wedding guest do's and don'ts, how to be a good wedding guest. It's to celebrate somebody's special day is awesome, but there are actually some etiquette that if you are a wedding guest, that you need to adhere by, making sure that you're wearing the correct clothes and all that kind of good stuff. So that is definitely an episode you want to check out, and that might be one, if you're planning a wedding, maybe one that you might actually want to forward, maybe to some guests and things like that, and so that they, wear their proper attire and things like that to make sure that your wedding goes pretty smooth. So that is definitely a good one for sure. Then we sat down with one of our award-winning photographers, Nikki Morgan Photography, to talk about how to hire the best wedding photographer. So that is really a good informational podcast about your wedding pictures and kind of what to expect, from the different plans that a photographer offers for the wedding day. Kind of what costs look like. What to expect on delivery of your photos after the wedding, all that kind of good stuff. So definitely a good episode with Nikki Morgan of Nikki Morgan Photography. So check it out, all about wedding photography. All right, next episode, we talked about should you hire a band or a DJ for your wedding? And that is a really good one, good question. You definitely want to have some sort of wedding entertainment at your wedding, to keep your guests entertained, to dance and party and have a good time and dance the night away. So we talk about the plus and minuses of a band and a DJ, The DJ kind of has that unlimited selection of music, and they're a little more versed on the microphone for your introductions into the wedding itself, whereas a band, is going to probably have to take some breaks, but, there's nothing better than live entertainment, and, maybe you can jam out and sing with the band as well. So some plus and minuses there with bands and DJs, so definitely check that one out for sure. All right, then we moved over to exploring Southern wedding traditions. We are in the South here in Columbia, South Carolina, so there are some specific Southern wedding traditions. The good old burying the bottle of bourbon is probably the one that comes to mind most that we talked about in that episode. But Yeah, definitely check out the Southern wedding traditions if you are from the South. And even if you're not from the South, maybe pick up a Southern wedding tradition and apply it to yours in the North or out in the West or even in another country. So we give you some Southern wedding traditions. All right, next up, we talked about the top 15 best honeymoon destinations. Yes, we talked about the tropical ones where you're laying out on the beach. We talked about cruises, all inclusive, resorts, cruises, all kinds of good stuff. We talked about some, different things like Las Vegas. My honeymoon was actually in Lake Tahoe, Nevada, a beautiful place. So there are, all kinds of different honeymoons, based on your travel preferences and things that you like to do. So we talk about all those destinations in there. So definitely check that one out. And don't forget to, make sure you hire a travel agent with your honeymoon destination, because they have the experience and they know exactly, safe places to go and can give you all kinds of recommendations and things like that. All right, well, then we moved on to being fit to wed, talking health and fitness insights for your big day. We hear a lot, of brides specifically, just trying to, lose some weight, maybe to fit a little bit better in their dress. So we talked about, some safe ways that you can actually, work on your health and work on your fitness. We talk about fasting, we talk about exercise, all those kind of things. You can actually hear a little bit of my journey into health and fitness, losing over 60 pounds throughout the years, due to my own personal journey as well. So you can hear that in that episode. So that's really a good one to kick off, especially for the new year. We all know the new year is usually the time of year that we start we start those New Year's traditions and resolutions, I should say, of trying to be a little bit more healthy. So definitely check that one out. All right, next one. This was a pretty interesting episode. We talked about weed weddings, exploring marijuana in matrimony. That is a little bit newer. There's several states in the United States now that have legalized marijuana. And so weed weddings or cannabis weddings have started to pick up a little bit. So we talk about that. Again, I am not going to advocate for illegal substances if it is illegal where you're at. However, if it is something, that is legal where you're at, we talk about making sure that you understand your responsibilities, to stay legal. And we talk about, being respectful of your guests who may not be into marijuana if you are. So definitely an interesting episode for us for sure. So check that one out. Then our next one, we went to a little more about wedding traditions. There are so many different wedding traditions. Like we talked about before, there's Southern ones, there's old ones, there's all kinds of wedding traditions, new ones. So we talked more about those. Then we kicked an episode about why you should attend a bridal show. And, it's getting ready to be bridal show season here just after the new year. A lot of shows in January, February time frame, and then again in the fall as well. But yeah, definitely, I highly recommend attending a bridal show. I actually produced the largest bridal show in Columbia, South Carolina, so in the middle of the state of South Carolina. But I will tell you, there's so many reasons to attend a wedding show. Anything from wedding fashion shows that will be held there to being able to, see all the new trends that are coming out in weddings, to tasting food from caterers, to tasting those beautiful wedding cakes. There's always door prizes and giveaways and things like that. But the most important thing is being able to talk face to face with wedding professionals to help you plan your dream wedding. And all the knowledge that these professionals have, is just really going to help you with your wedding planning. And you can actually, if you want to, you could book all your wedding vendors in one day there at the show. That's an option. Or if you just want to kind of shop around, see the trends and everything. But I definitely highly recommend checking out a bridal show in your area. All right, next episode we talked about why you should hire a wedding videographer. Now this one's a little personal to me because I am a wedding videographer myself. So I highly believe in getting a wedding video And my main reason for that is because, I've said it before and I will say it again. Unfortunately, there's all one thing that we are all promised in life, and that means that we are not going to be on this earth at some time. I won't get into what you believe or what you don't believe, what happens afterwards. But we all won't be here one day, and unfortunately for our guests and our family, they won't be here one day as well. And when you have that video, you can relive those moments, not just like a picture that you see up on a wall, that brings you a great memory, but you can actually see the emotions, the actions on somebody's face, their body language, and most importantly, you can hear their voice because, a picture can't speak a voice. And, hearing, a loved one's voice, a friend, loved one, whatever, to hear their voice just one more time after they have passed, it's just something that you will cherish for the rest of your life. So highly recommend hiring a wedding videographer. All right, next we talked about the 2024 wedding trends. Guys, there's a lot out there of wedding trends, from audio guest books to video guest books, to changing your wedding attire throughout the wedding day, from wearing one dress for the ceremony, changing into another one for the reception, and then changing again later on in the evening as you're getting ready to depart your reception. Those are just a couple of the trends that come to mind, from that episode, but definitely check that one out. We'll also obviously be doing more podcasts in 2024 about the wedding trends throughout the year. And of course, then we'll be looking at 2025 wedding trends as well. So definitely check that one out. All right, then we talked a little more controversial episode. Should you tip your wedding vendors? There's some strong opinions there on tipping. I think the culture that we've come into, especially in America now with tipping, is just kind of gotten out of control. Everywhere you go, whether it's Starbucks or anywhere, you grab a bite to eat, whatever, even if it's fast food, whatever, you're seeing the screen on there that they flip around and asking you for a tip. So a lot of questions around that. There are some people believe strongly in providing a tip for service well done, and others that don't. But so we talk about things that you can do besides tipping that also still show gratitude for providing services. And then we do talk about, if you are going to give tips, to your wedding vendors, which wedding vendors, that would most likely be tipped and which ones wouldn't, and what that, amount would look like. So definitely a good resource for you there on tipping. All right, our next episode was on including pets in your wedding. We all have favorite pets. If you're a pet person, your dog or your, a lot of people call them fur babies, whatever. And, in that episode, we talked about, how can you incorporate your dog, your pet into your wedding? There's so many ways to do that, especially dogs. We see it all the time, from a dog walking down the aisle with the couple to being a part of pictures, just so many different ways that you can incorporate pets into your wedding. So definitely a good one that you might want to check out. Then we talked about picking music for your wedding. This is a pretty popular topic that I see in the chats and social media, different groups, is, asking for help with music. And, we talk about the resources on where you can find resources for, helping you pick song selections. But we talk about, some of the traditional songs for ceremonies, some of the non-traditional songs for ceremonies. We talk about introduction songs into your reception and what those can look like. We talk about, top first dance songs and father-daughter songs and mother-son songs and last dance songs. But all the music, for your wedding, we talk about that and kind of where to look for those resources. So definitely a good one to check out. Then we talk about what to do after you tie the knot. That was a good episode, thinking about, getting your name changed, all that kind of stuff, all the things that you might not think about, after you tie the knot that are important, legally and things like that you might want to do. So definitely check that one out. Then we talked about the ways to handle wedding planning stress. Guys, wedding planning can be very stressful for sure. So we talk about some ways, to help reduce stress, kind of leaning on the help of others. not taking things to heart. Everybody's going to want to have an opinion about your wedding and what it should look like and all that kind of good stuff. So we talk about kind of navigating the wedding planning stress. So definitely a great episode to check out. Then we talked about the 20 ways to save money on your wedding. Guys, throughout all of our podcast episodes, we always try to think about ways that we can, provide you ways to save money for your wedding. We know, with inflation and everything that's going on in the crazy economy and world that we live in today, saving some money, especially on weddings, is very important. The wedding cost itself continues to rise. In the United States right now, the average cost of a wedding is right around $30,000, plus or minus, depending on what region you might live in. But that number is only probably going to continue to go north as prices of everything, continue to rise. Think about, prices of flowers. You think about gas. There's just so many, supply chain issues, all kinds of things that can impact, money, and which is going to translate into more money that vendors are going to be charging you for your wedding. And, so we talk about ways to save money at your wedding, from anything from, doing things, backyard weddings, just to, thinking about ways that you can save on your rentals and all that kind of good stuff. So definitely check that episode out. Then as we got into Thanksgiving, the time of year to think about gratitude, we talked about gratitude for our wedding guests. What can you do to show gratitude to your wedding guests? They spent all this time and money and energy to be there, to celebrate with you. But, how can you show them some gratitude? We talked about, things from, wedding gifts that you can give them, to other non-monetary ways to also give gratitude. But yeah, definitely a great episode that you want to check out. Then we talked about tips for planning a wedding when you work a 9-to-5 job. I'm sure most of us probably listening in on the podcast are working, have a 9-to-5 type of job, or maybe it's even a 12-hour job if you're a nurse or law enforcement, or maybe it's even longer if you work in the military. I know they pull some long hours. But yeah, we talk about, just how to kind of navigate the wedding planning process when you're working and kind of how to manage that, from having a maybe an email address that's specific just for your wedding planning. So that way you don't kind of mix the personal and the business and all that kind of good stuff together. So a lot of good tips in there about planning your wedding. Then we talked about wedding day emergency kits. That's definitely a good one. There's a lot of things that can happen on your wedding day, but, kind of planning ahead, kind of making that emergency day kit, all kinds of little knickknacks that you can put in there. So when something goes wrong, because inevitably something's probably going to go wrong. And if you have a little toolkit that's got, stuff, some sewing needles to, extra glue to all kind, there's just so many things we talk about in that emergency kit. But if you have that kit, when something does come up, you won't have to run out to the store or send somebody to the store. So that will keep your stress level down on your special day. And definitely check that episode out. And then the last episode that we just had this past week was selecting your wedding day jewelry. There's a lot of jewelry options out there, from things that you might want to, incorporate from, family members, loved ones, things like that. But other ways that you can incorporate, maybe, different jewelry, different, from bracelets to earrings. You might want to, switch out some jewelry that you wore at the ceremony and switch it out and wear something different at the reception. So we just talk about, all kinds of, things to think about with your wedding day jewelry. So that kind of brings you back through the 25, 26 episodes of 2023, that we talked about, just a little sample. So, if you haven't listened to one of those episodes or all of them, please go back, listen to them, listen to those specific episodes that you think that might, give you some tips and some education to help you. So, guys, I really hope that you stay tuned with us in 2024. Like I said, a lot of great continued wedding content coming your way, a lot of great interviews with other wedding professionals that are really going to help you. That is going to be our focus in 2024 is more other wedding professionals to help you, from helping you understand, alcohol cost food cost, how to select a wedding venue, just so many different aspects that we want to sit down with other professionals and provide those tips and tricks with you. And again, more continued trends and more ways to help you save money. So that's what 2024 is going to look like. So yes, we are going to be absent for about 2 or 3 weeks as well. We celebrate the holidays ourselves. Actually, I'm getting ready. My youngest daughter's getting ready to dance in Disney World. So we're getting ready to head down to Orlando, Florida, and enjoy a week down there, spending some time watching her dance and go to Disney and have fun at all the magical parks down there in Disney. So we'll see how all that turns out here. Coming back for Christmas and celebrate Christmas at home with our families. And then, believe it or not, people tell me we're crazy, but we're going to head to New York and do the ball drop. We've never done that. Kind of a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Going to be standing out there in the streets of New York, I think, from about 12 noon until 12 a.m. when the new year of 2024 rings in. So I think it's going to be pretty cold up there, but we'll see what happens. I'm excited to see the musical talent that's going to be there. I'm not sure exactly who it's going to be. I believe I've heard Flow Rider is one of the big names, so I do know lots of Flow Rider songs, so looking forward to hearing that, but I am looking forward to seeing the schedule get released here soon on all the other musical acts. And so really looking forward to it. Probably never going to want to go back to New York again after the ball. But like I said, people tell me I'm crazy. They give me that look when I tell them we're going for the ball drop. So super excited about that. After we get back from New York, my oldest daughter, she plays soccer, does the travel soccer thing, and plus her high school. And so she has a final college showcase down in Florida again, in the Orlando area. So we're heading back to Florida again and spend a couple more days down there and enjoy some soccer. She finishes up her last college showcase of her travel soccer season this year, and actually last soccer travel season for her career, as she's getting ready to head into college. She did have some opportunities to play collegiate soccer, but decided that she wants to focus on academics, which I totally respect. And so soccer's kind of winding down for us. But a lot of travel here, as you can see, in the next several weeks. So holidays are going to be real busy for us. But after that, we will be in 24, we'll be in January, and it will be time to bring you new and good content for 2024. So, just want to wish you, whatever you celebrate this time of year, happy holidays. I hope that you and your loved ones and your family, friends, all that, you are safe and you have great holidays and create great memories. And I wish you the best new year for 2024. And I also wish you the best for your wedding planning in 2024. And for those of you getting married in 2024, I wish that you have a fabulous wedding. And I hope that we can be a little part of that by, providing you some tips and information to help you for your big day. And let us know, guys, if we have helped you in any way with some tips along the way in 2023, please shoot us a message. Our email is callingallbridespodcast@gmail.com. Of course, we're on all the social media channels. We're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. Send us a message. Let us know. Hey guys, we tuned in. We learned something from your podcast, and we appreciate it. It was cool. We put it into our wedding. Maybe used a song or something we talked about on one of the other episodes or something. Let us know. That would be fabulous to hear. Again, kind of that gratitude thing. It put a big smile on our face to hear kind of how you're using our content. So definitely let us know. But if you do have some show, some things that you'd like to hear on the show, on the episodes in 2024, again, reach out to us on the same channels. Let us know what you're wanting to hear. What content you want to hear from us, and we'll make an episode on that as well. So do me a favor, make sure that you leave us a rating and review on your favorite podcast app that you are listening to the Calling All Brides podcast on. Make sure that you have all the episodes downloaded on your app. Make sure if you're not using an app, you can head over to callingallbridespodcast.com. Lots of ways to connect. You can go over to our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to that. Head on over to TikTok. We usually post at least some weekly content over there as well, some short form content there on those social media channels. So a lot of ways for you to connect with us. A lot of ways for you to gain information. So yeah, that's what I got for you guys. It is the Calling All Brides podcast. I'm your host, Joe Cirillo, and we will talk to you soon. Take care. Great episodes coming up, and we've got a whole lot more, so make sure you stay tuned to the Calling All Brides podcast.